Yep.
Is it? Can everyone see me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Great, guys. Hey, I might introduce myself. My name's Alan, and I'm here to represent D&C Consulting Group. So, guys, we're only going to be at 40 minutes today, and a couple of things I want to really establish is who I am, what I do, and what today's session is going to be. And look, you can see there on the board right now, it's about common mistakes in interviews. And I know as graduates, all of you, whether you've gone through the D&C program or not, that's really your priority at the moment because you've got your degrees, you've got your high distinctions. What is the next step? So it's all about setting yourself up, in terms of a career. And the first step towards a career is getting that first job. Okay, so who am I? My name's Alan. I don't know if I've taught some of you or bumped into some of you, but a couple of things about myself. I used to work at Westpac for about 4 years. After that, I was in insurance. From insurance, I moved into financial planning. So I've been at AMP for about a year and a half. And from there, I moved to a subsidiary of AMP called Stature. I was a workplace advisor looking after the corporate superannuation policies. And I spent most of my time over the last year and a bit just traveling around Australia, doing these sort of presentations for companies around their superannuation policy, guys. So for me, when I started my career, I was in the same boat as yourselves. 10 years ago, when I went for my first job, is no different from today. Actually, if anything, it's a lot harder these days, guys. So I'm going to touch on my own experience and my experience with other graduates as well, in terms of what you can do to avoid these mistakes. So, look, guys, it's easy. It's common mistakes in interviews. Really, if you know what not to do, you just do the opposite, yeah? So it's not really that hard. So we might get started. Okay. So today, look, I've got a quick program that I'm going to run through. So we'll start. So it's 4 parts. We're going to start with the premise. Really some rules and guidelines, guys. I can give you as much information as you need. If anything, you could just jump online and find out information, right? But before I go into slides, guys, I need you to really respect and take advantage and really embrace these rules and guidelines, because if you do, you will succeed. And these top mistakes I'm going to go through are something that you'll take away and will really serve you well in terms of your career path. The next thing is perspective, how you see things. This was huge. A really big thing when I was working with a lot of Chinese graduates like yourself. I found that the culture between Australia and China were vastly different, guys. And the first thing to do is, before I give you anything, you really need to change your mindset. Okay, when you change your mindset, a lot of these things here are going to be a lot easier to understand. Problems, and this is the good stuff here. Okay, so I'm going to touch on 6 top problems that I find that yourselves, a lot of other graduates, not even Chinese, even Australian graduates have trouble with. Once you master these, guys, I will tell you exactly how to fix them. So if you guys have any plans on leaving early, I would suggest you would stay, because I'll also go over solutions how to fix it as well. And the last one, guys, is presses, which is another fancy word for summary. I don't know, I wanted to go with a PPPP thing here, out of consistency. So we'll recap on everything we spoke about today. Okay, so premise. Premise is it's really the foundations, the guidelines in terms of what I want you to do before we get into the good stuff. So if you listen, great. If you don't, you will fail, and I guarantee that. All right, guys. So why is understanding common mistakes in interviews so important? Why is getting a job so important these days? Why is it so important to do workshops like career, interview, and resume workshops? Because of a couple of trends here. And the first one I'll touch on is oversupply. Just to give you some numbers, because I know you guys are probably in finance or accounting backgrounds, or you are graduates in those areas. There are 15,000 investment banking graduates each year in a market of 60,000. Okay, I believe that was 2014. So those numbers could even be skewed. There are 50,000 accounting. That should be the other way around. There are 25,000. Actually that's right. 50,000 accounting graduates each year in a market of 20,000. All right. So the odds of you getting a job are less than 50%. I don't know if you guys actually realize that. If you're still on the other line, stay with me, because those numbers don't matter to me at all. Right? I hope that hasn't discouraged you from wanting to become a successful investment banker or a successful accountant. Okay, guys? I can work with odds less than 50%. I don't care if the odds are 20%, right? If you follow these steps. The competition. Okay, so who are you up against? I know in university you guys all sat together, you did study groups, you were all friends, you had lunch together at uni, but when you're looking for a job, you're not friends. You guys are competition, okay? Everyone's looking, there's one job and there are 10 of you. So who's going to get that job? Because the reality is, guys, in 2015, only 68% of new bachelor degree graduates were working full-time after 4 months, right? Once upon a time, you got a degree, you got a job. That's how it worked. Even after 4 months, only just over 50% got jobs. In that same year, 26% of 18 to 30-year-olds have a bachelor degree or higher compared to 5% 20 years ago. And guys, that number's just going to increase, okay? Once upon a time, it was a big deal you had a bachelor degree. Now, in this current environment, having a master's degree is normal. Actually, a PhD is probably normal. I say in about 10, 15 years, okay? The last thing, poor career prospects. So what happens, as these numbers increase and there becomes an oversupply of graduates, there becomes less jobs in terms of competition. What happens is a lot of graduates are looking at these numbers and they realize, wow, it's so hard to find a job, I need to get better degrees. And when they get better degrees, what happens is they compound on the problem here, which is it becomes even harder to get a job, even if they study more, because that number only increases as they continue to study as well. So look, I don't know what your reaction here is, guys. If you guys are still excited about being successful finance or accounting professionals in your careers, but if you're still there, I'll show you how we can overcome these trends, and that these trends have no influence on how we sell ourselves in terms of a job. Okay, so a couple of things here I mentioned. So the premise. There are some guidelines, guys, in terms of understanding how to overcome these mistakes, okay? The first thing is, it's a science and art, okay? I say science because it's, what is a science? It's a systematically organized body of knowledge on a particular subject. Often as students, I realize if the process is A, B, C, D, then ultimately as graduates, we just follow A, B, C, D. But then it's also important, there is an art component to the science part, where art, really what is art? The expression, application of human creative skill. So perhaps A, B, C, D isn't the best way. Perhaps you could do A, C, E, and B, D last, right? What I'm trying to get you guys to take away from this philosophy here is that whatever we cover today, guys, use it, change it, take stuff out, add stuff to it, okay? It isn't like the Bible, you can't just write anything on it or touch it, yeah? Take the advantage, or take the luxury to do what you will with the information. The second philosophy I want you guys to follow as well is Kaizen. Okay, Kaizen is about continuous improvement on working practices. Like I said, regards to the art philosophy, whatever you learn today, guys, work on it, refine it, compare it with other people's, notes. Okay, and the last thing is, guys, if you don't keep what you don't use. All right, you can learn as much as you want out of a textbook, but if you do not use it, you will fail to keep it, and that means you got to do repetition. You got to execute. You got to apply. Okay, only when your brain is engaged will any of this stick. Otherwise, I believe the statistic is 80% of people forget people forget 80% of what they learn after a seminar or a lecture. Okay? Alright, so we've touched on some guidelines, guys, yeah? Now we look at perspective. Perspective is the glass half full or half empty? How do you look at life? And that's important as well, because I know a lot of Chinese graduates come to me and tell me a couple of things, like I don't have enough experience. What else? I don't know how to communicate or articulate the experience I have. Okay, so you need to change that, guys. What you know is enough. The question is, how do you use what you already have, even if it's a very small slice of the answer? Okay, so perspective. What do you believe? So right now, like I said, an example is I don't have a lot of experience. Okay. So what does that mean? If you go for a job interview, if you don't have a lot of experience, does that mean you're not qualified? Not necessarily, guys. Yeah? Why give yourself a disadvantage by thinking like that when you can move towards maximizing? What I mean by maximizing is, instead of thinking, I don't have enough knowledge, how do I maximize the little experience I already have? So you might think, okay, I'm going for an accounting role. I worked at a restaurant. What does restaurants have to do with finance? Well, in my role as a cashier, I had to reconcile the daily cash register. I had to work out the supply inventory for the stock for the day. And I believe that these things, I'm not an accounting expert, you probably tell, but I believe that there are overlaps between what you did as a cashier at the restaurant and overlaps as an accounting professional as well. Okay, guys, so move from I don't have X experience, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough experience, to how do I make the most of, how do I turn $1 into $100? How do I use my tiny little restaurant experience in accounting? Okay, the next one, guys. What's interesting is I find that a lot of graduates aren't prepared for the job interviews. I don't know why. Because the reality is you guys have all paid $50,000 to read 400-page textbooks. I remember a student told me I had to read a 400-page textbook from front to back just to pass my degree. Right? And they paid $50,000 to that. And yet when you get paid $50,000, it's so hard for you to read one page. That one page is a job description, guys. Often I ask in interviews, what do you know about this job? And I've had some students come to me and go, can I read the job description in front of me during an interview? And guys, I really need you to digest what I'm saying here. Move from paying someone money to read 200 pages to all you have to do is prepare, read the job description, know the company, know the job you're going to, so you can get paid $50,000. Isn't that a better position to be in? I'll leave that with you. The next thing is don't be better. All right, guys. Yes, there is a place, you need a better resume. You need to have better interview skills. You need to dress better, okay? But why do you want to run faster when you can just build a motorbike and ride that and beat everybody else? Okay? Wouldn't that be easier? That's the difference there between being better and being different. Why play the same game when you can be different? So instead of doing better resumes or better interview skills, ultimately it might be worthwhile to think outside the box. If everyone is doing X, maybe I should do Y. Because 40 people are doing X, they have to compete with each other. I can do Y instead. All right, and that's how I got my job as a financial planner. I was still very good at X. I was still a very fast runner, but I also had a motorbike next to me. And the motorbike was a newsletter, a website I created to demonstrate my value and credibility as a financial planner, even though I didn't have any experience, guys. So that's that one there. It isn't about right or wrong. Okay, guys, really this ties into the first one. If I don't have experience, I don't get a job. That is a very poor way of thinking. You want to understand in terms of interviews, even if you don't have, it's not about being right or wrong, it's about what's best. How can you give the best answer with what you have? So it really ties into the top one here. So don't think I don't have it. Think, what do I have that I can communicate to the client? And the last one, guys, degrees get you jobs, right? Not anymore. Degrees get you a job interview. Okay, you got to start thinking that. It is not enough to have a degree. If anything, sometimes degrees don't even get you job interviews. I know people with no degrees, they still get job interviews. Okay, and we'll touch on exactly why, because they've learned how to overcome and correct their mistakes when it comes to job interviews. All right, so guys, we're getting to problems now. So there are 6 common mistakes Chinese students make in interviews, right? There is so many more, but these top 6, I believe, make up 80% of all interview problems that my experience with Chinese graduates like yourself have. Okay, the first one is what's in it for me. Okay, guys, I intentionally made the slide as minimal as possible. I'd rather you not just read slides because you'll download it and probably never read it again. That's why you've got to watch this video. And I'll start with first. What does this mean? What's in it for me? It's essentially, what do I get out of it? Okay, and my experience has been that a lot of graduates, when it comes to looking for a job, and they are being interviewed, the questions they ask is, what's the salary? What salary do I get? How many days off do I get in a year? What's the culture like? Culture is a good thing, but what's in it for me? Okay. Guys, you're in sales. You might be accounting or finance graduates, but you realize when you go in the job market, that's essentially your first job. You might not be paid for it straight away, but you are essentially selling yourselves, okay? Just like I might pick up a phone and sell this phone, you are the product, guys. You are this phone, okay? You are in sales, and how sales works, you might find, if you have time, actually go and buy a phone or a computer or whatever it may be, and watch what the salesman does. He doesn't talk about himself. He asks you questions in terms of what's important to you. Why do you want this phone? What's your budget like? Do you use it for study or business? Do you prefer to use it to play video games, right? These questions are geared towards what you like when you purchase a phone. And in that same respect, you need to talk about your features and benefits. So if this phone is a smartphone because it can play games, that's the feature. The benefit is because you like to play video games, when you fly for work, you can spend your time on your phone playing video games instead. Something like that. Okay, guys, a very basic example. But if I was selling myself as an accountant, the example would be, okay, I've gone through different workshops with D&C, mastering a lot of accounting software. So that's the feature. And the benefit to you, Mr. Employer, is that I understand you're an accounting firm that looks after small to medium businesses. And I believe that software is critical for you in terms of preparing daily reports. So, and that's what I'm competent at. Okay, that's the benefit, guys. You see the difference? Features and benefits. Whereas all I hear often is, I did a degree in accounting. You should hire me, shake my hand. Okay, that is not enough, right? And a what and a why, essentially it's the same thing. What do you do? Okay, I do a degree in accounting. Why do I care if you did a degree in accounting? Okay, you've really got to make that clear to me. And why you want to do that is because the competition, right? It's so hard to get a job these days, guys. There are so many graduates in the market looking for a job. Everyone's got a degree. It's not a big deal anymore. Just like I have a phone, it's not a big deal. Once upon a time, an iPhone was cool. Now everyone's got an iPhone. It's the same sort of thing, right? So you have to be a better salesman than the guy next to you, okay? And altruism. So altruism, essentially what that means is an unconditional care for somebody else. Okay, that's altruism. What does altruism have to do with a job, a career? You know what's interesting? Disney said this: altruism is the benchmark of profit. Zig Ziglar, who's a motivational speaker, he also said, the more you help people get what they want in life, the more you will receive as well. Okay, and it comes down to what's in it for me. Really, I should have changed it to what's in it for your employer. Yep. And that's why you want to be better salespeople, guys. Features and benefits. How you do that? First is called empathy. Empathy is being in someone's shoes. So the questions I would ask myself if I wanted to empathize with my employer is, what does this employer want? What do I want as an employer? If I was the employer and I was hiring myself or hiring someone, what would I like to hear? What's important to me? What do I want to see? Okay? Empathy will really give you, it's the ability to see what other people are thinking. Okay? If you get better at empathy, it's almost like reading someone's mind, guys. Okay? Mind reading is as close as it gets to empathy. Alright? And show interest. How do you show interest? You're engaged. Your body language. So you move forward, you lean forward. You ask very good questions, okay? The quality of your answers depends on the quality of your question. Remember that. So showing interest is also asking about the company. What do they do? Okay? And once you do that, guys, it will be easy to sell the the employer, on why they should buy you, okay? Because they are buying you, okay? Make no mistake about that. All right, next one. Not providing details or specificity. I struggle with that one. What are details? What are details? Insights, okay? Information is information, but insights is understanding. Context. Context is the, what would you call it? Ultimately the relevance of what you're saying in the moment, okay? So I might say, I'm good at numbers. What does that have to do with anything? Well, if I'm applying for an accounting job, it matters. It's important. That's context. If I say numbers, I'm good at numbers again. What does that have to do with anything? Well, I'm in sport, so numbers maybe not so much with sport. Okay. And relevance. How important are your answers to the question? Okay, because a lot of graduates I find often give me very vague or high level answers. They tell me they have good communication skills, and I'm thinking, what does that mean? I want to pay you $50,000 a year, and all you can give me is good communication skills. Can you give me a little bit more, right? And then we come to the why. So I hope you like the lingo there. I used investment, liability, risk, and return. Really, guys, if I was buying a phone, I don't want to know. And I said to you, this is a phone. You should give me $1,000 for it. You're just going to look at me and you're going to walk away, right? If you don't, probably the easiest person to sell. But if that was an example, you would walk away. If I told you this was a phone, it has a large screen, so it's easy to press. It's got long life battery. It uses the internet, so you can connect internationally or locally. That's specifics. That's details. Yep. I know it sounds very simple, and you're probably going, "Well, that's easy stuff," but I don't get that a lot. Maybe perhaps it's the pressure of the interview, but what might help you guys understand the importance of details is because you're an investment, right? If you're an investment, if I'm putting money to you, if I'm hiring you in a job, then I want to know every little thing about you, every detail, every risk, okay, guys? And the return, all right? And how you do that, guys, is using things like the STAR technique. So some of you might know it's called STAR and the reason is it's an acronym. So S stands for situation. So, for example, the situation would be, the situation is I worked at a restaurant. Task would be the challenge. So the challenge was I had a difficult client and I was really struggling with this client. He wasn't happy with the service. Action would be I took the opportunity to empathize and speak to the client to really understand his problem, and I would be resolved. I worked with the client. He was happy that I listened to him, and as a result, he came back again a couple of weeks later as a happy client. Okay? Questions. Ask good questions, guys. If you're unsure of what the employer wants or is asking, then you need to clarify. What do you mean? Can I get more information? Is this what you're after? Add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, so if you're, if an example you have isn't as strong as you'd like it to be, then you can go deeper. If there's a situation at work that's too big to communicate, then you can chop it up. You can divide it up. If it's too vague, then add something to it. All right, guys. That's how you provide details. Yeah, you can add, you can remove. You can do all sorts of things, but why you need to be mindful of details is because of this. They want to make sure that you can maximize the return on you and that you're not a risk. If they were to put $50,000 in you, they expect to make their money back. If anything, I'll give you a statistic. Employers expect you to make 3 times your salary. Guys, if they pay you $50,000 a year, you're expected to make $150,000, okay? And what gives them that confidence? If you can give them details about how good or what you've done in your past experience. Okay, next one. No certainty or confidence. That's a huge one, guys. And it probably ties into the last example which was, let's go back or forward. Not providing details, okay? So, what's certainty, what's confidence? It's the feeling or belief that one can have faith in or rely on someone or something. Certainty, it's conviction on something that is reliably true. Okay? Why? This is the what. Why is that important to you? Why is that important to employers? I just don't want the right answer. I'm not after just details. I want to make sure that you are confident that the answers you give me, no matter how detailed they are, that I can believe that it's true and that there is no doubt, absolutely no doubt. And that's what that is. It ties into your ability. You might be a good accountant. You might have got high distinctions in uni. But if you sit down and we're having an interview and you do not come across confident, like you're slouching, you're looking elsewhere, your hands are fidgeting, okay? That's not going to give me confidence because when I hire you, I expect 100%. And if you're not confident, then some days what happens if I only get 50% of your ability or 70%? That you don't believe that whatever you have, whatever ability, you've mastered, you can really realize that potential when you do come in to work for me. Okay? If you're not confident in your own ability, then I won't have any confidence in your own ability. And stability as well, guys. There are always going to be challenges at work. It could be people, it could be difficult clients, people will push you around. It could be the work. There's too much work to be done in very little time. If you're not confident that you'll get that through, someone who's not confident or certain, they will shake and they will fall apart. Okay? Which means it will affect their ability to do the job. And in 8 hours, an employer might only get 70% of someone's capacity rather than 100%. All right? So how do you exude confidence? How do you convince me that you are confident, that you do have certainty over the answers you've given me during the interview? Choice of words. A couple of words some students have given me. Look, I think that this career path is right for me. Maybe that's what the client believed. What's another one? I've been lucky that I got the results today. That my manager was happy with me. I got lucky. Okay, you don't want to use words like that, guys. It doesn't give me a lot of confidence in your ability. You might want to change those words. A couple of words you might want to use. You should use, not might. You should. I am. I do. I believe. All right. Use words that command authority. Okay. Body language, very important. If you're slouched over or you're looking down or you're looking elsewhere, that's not going to give me a lot of confidence. All right. A confident person in terms of body language is up straight, strong. They're looking at me straight in the eye. They don't waver, and they're quite stable in terms of their the way they're set up, essentially. All right. And voice delivery, very important. Voice delivery. You don't want to be meek. You don't want to sound like, you don't want to go soft, guys. As you can see me going real soft now. I think I've been successful in this company because I dealt with a client and he was happy with me. Okay, guys, it's not going to win you any jobs, right? Voice delivery, you're going to be, you have to be able to, make sure your voice comes across very clearly. You have to be articulate in your communication, and it also has to ultimately exude confidence as well. Okay, guys, so if you get all these three right, then you are confident. Okay. All right. So third one, not asking questions at the end, which is really interesting, guys. You want this job, so why don't you ask questions at the end? All right. So what is asking questions at the end? It's finding about the company. It's finding about what their goals are, finding about their values. Why is that important? Because it shows interest in the other person. I told you, we spoke earlier, what's in it for me, okay? An employer wants to know that you care about them as well. Not just a job, not just a salary, not just a benefit, like let's just say you work in hospitality, you love, or an airline, you want to travel, you want to get cheap discounted seats. They don't want to hear that. You get that, but they don't want to hear that. They want to hear about themselves, guys. Because that's who we are as human beings. If you were to ask me about cartoons, yes, I'll put my hand up, I love cartoons. I could talk about cartoons all day. But you know what? Once I finish talking about cartoons all day, I'm going to like you, okay? Because you were interested in my hobbies, okay? And that makes it easier for you to get a job because people like to work with who they like. And even if you got your answers wrong, even if you didn't have the experience, but they liked you, and part of that is asking questions, then you will get the job. And I've seen that happen more often than you might believe. The second one is equal. Now, I found that a lot of Chinese graduates feel that at a lower level, that might be the best way to put it, than their interviewer. They feel that this is the power position. Okay, guys? I'm not too sure why. Perhaps it's a cultural thing or an experience thing. But really, you guys are equals. Okay, I have to stress that. You are on the same level as your manager, as you are on the same level as his manager, as the CEO. Okay, he might know more than you in terms of the job, but that does not mean he's here and you're down there. Okay, guys? Yes, there's a hierarchy. So he's here in the chain of command, but as a person, you guys are equal. And when you have the opportunity to ask questions, that's what happens. That position of power. Now, all of a sudden, the interviewer is being interviewed by yourself. Okay, Guys, don't be desperate for a job. You're worth more than that, right? You know, what you can do is ask questions to the interviewer. Like, what do you like about working here? What sort of culture do you promote? Why did the last person leave this role? Have you ever asked the interviewer that? All of a sudden, the interviewer is not thinking, well, I've got 50 other interviewees I have to go through. I really want to convince this person that this is a great job, that they're going to love it here, and they've made the right choice by being here today in terms of interview. Okay, guys? All of a sudden, that power is in your court, right? And that's what places you on equal footing. Okay? So be very clear on asking the right questions at the end of the interview. Have some prepared and don't make it up on the spot. Okay, avoid negative words. Why? Because it's critical. You're criticizing someone's ability. You're minimizing a situation, a person, a problem, and it's not appreciated when it comes to the working environment here in Australia, because it's all about finding fault. It's about judgmental. You know, words like annoying, bad, hated, loser. Nobody likes to be called these things, and no one likes to hear these things as well. Okay. Yes, whilst it may be true, they might be annoying, they might be bad, they might be hated. You might hate something, or they're a loser. You do not want to communicate. A story or an answer you might have using these words, guys, because it's about your perception. How do you want to be perceived? Do you want to be perceived as a professional accounting graduate, or do you want to be perceived as a student who's still in school and hasn't worked on his vocabulary or language? Okay? Because you're professionals, guys. You are professionals. That ties into intelligence. So if you're using words like that, they're going to question how smart is this person, really, to use words like that. And character as well, okay? Because we both know as people, people grow on positive words, on encouragement, being appreciated, being acknowledged, whereas this finds fault, okay? And how you fix that, guys, is you got to remember you have to be diplomatic or sensitive. You know, and I mentioned the word empathy. You know, if you were in their shoes, would you, even if they were annoying, would you like to be called annoying? Would you like to be called bad? Would you like to be hated or called a loser? No, you wouldn't. Okay? And that's how you'll be able to change that language and avoid negative words. So instead of annoying, you might use difficult. Instead of bad, you might use inappropriate. Instead of hated is a very strong word, you might use disliked or displeased. Okay? And the word loser, I just don't use it. Don't use the word loser. I've heard that one before, but guys, make an assessment. Discern when's appropriate to use these words, which is generally never in the interview. And if you have to use these words, I would highly encourage you to switch those words over to more diplomatic or professional wording. Okay. All right, the next one. Okay, so I mentioned earlier some perspective that you guys need to adopt. One of them was, it's not absolutes, it's accuracy. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit tough for me to explain, but I'll give it my best shot. So absolutes are valid or not valid, okay? It's right or wrong, it's black or white. There is no in between, all right? And accuracy, on the other hand, it's the degree to which the result of a measurement conforms to the correct value standard. That's really a dictionary definition, guys. If absolutes is black or white, yes or no, right or wrong, then accuracy would be, if this is a spectrum, right, where do you fit on this spectrum? Okay? And that's how you have to give your answers, guys. You should start thinking like that. There is no right or wrong answer. There's only a bad answer, which can become a good answer, which can become a better answer, which can become a best answer, guys, okay? Because if you start thinking like that, you'll be able to turn dirt into gold. All right? You won't be limited or discouraged by saying, well, I don't know the answer. Well, I don't have X. That means I'm stuck, right? Instead, you want to think, how can I make it more accurate? How can I refine my answer? How can I give a stronger solution? Because by doing that, it removes boundaries, removes limits from your mind when it comes to answering questions, guys, okay? So instead of so someone asks you, what's your experience around a difficult client or a difficult situation, then your answer is not, well, I don't have any experience with difficult clients, okay? That's the absolute thinking, yes or no? Well, I've never dealt with a difficult client. Accuracy is, well, I've worked with a client, I haven't worked with a client, but I've worked with a colleague, and they were quite difficult. So some of the difficulties I had with this particular colleague is that they weren't open to feedback. They chose to take initiative without consulting the team, and often it resulted in poor results. And that's why, and then continue to solve that question in that manner. All right. And how you do that, guys? I've given you a couple of examples. Is, you know, one, you want to maximize what you do have. So if you were again at a restaurant, I would suggest you ask yourself, how can I turn my experience as a restaurant, working in a restaurant, into an experience that overlaps an accounting job? Okay, because I've looked at a job description for an accountant, and often I might see experience with daily cash reports, preparing financial statements. If you don't have any experience around that, you do have experience as a team player, as a problem solver, someone who takes initiative. Okay, and that's what it means by maximizing. Well, how can I use what I do have and make it more? Minimizing is the same thing as well. How can I minimize something if it's too big? I've got so much experience everywhere, maybe I should just cut it down and give you that answer instead. And it's also refinement as well, guys, okay? So you can chip at it, work at it. Like I said, it gives you the ability, accuracy, to move from here to here, rather than if it was right or wrong. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. There is no in between. And that's not the best way to look at answering or working with interviews, okay? Okay, guys, in summary, so number one, what's in it for me? Make sure you bear in mind the needs of your employer, okay? Your employer's needs are important. They're just as even more so important than your own needs, okay? So when you answer any question or you ask any question, you want to make sure that you are appealing to what the employer wants, all right? The second one is details and specificity. Give the employer every insight that you will get the job done, okay? Give them no doubt about your answers, okay? That there are no alternatives or risks, okay? That they have every confidence that what you're telling them is X, so X is X, there is no in between. Number three, no certainty or confidence. Employers expect 100%, okay? If you got a high distinction in uni, or you were successful in sales, or you were really good at numbers, then employers want to be able to see that every day, 5 days a week, 9 to 5, okay? Number four, not asking questions in the end. Really important. I don't want to hear questions like, what's the next step? A question isn't just a question. You don't want to tick the box. So you want to ask insightful questions that gets the employer talking about them, okay? Number five, avoid negative words. So, guys, how do you want to be perceived? Are you a professional accountant? Then act like a professional accountant. Don't talk negatively about anyone. Don't bash your boss or verbal bash your boss. Even if you do feel strongly that way, you want to use words, that are constructive to your value as an accountant. And finally, number six, not absolutes, but accuracy. So stop thinking in right or wrong. Okay, there is no right or wrong answer. There is only a better answer. Okay, guys? Because if you start thinking like that, you'll naturally give answers that appeals to your employer. I might give you an example here. For my interview, one of my interviews, I believe it was A&P, they asked me a question. The question was, how many female soccer players are there in America? I think my answer was 10 million, and the answer was 2 million. So I was way wrong, right, guys? That you could say that is obviously a wrong answer, right? If the answer is 2 million, I got 10 million, then I was way wrong. But the point is, employers don't necessarily want the right answer. They want to know how you think as well, how you can demonstrate and articulate your thinking. So, for example, I think I answered that question by saying America has 350 million people. Half of them, I'm assuming, are female. Probably a third of them are healthy enough to play soccer. and I eventually cut it down to 10 million, right? I mean, at the end of the day I was wrong, but I still got the job, okay? So I hope that example encourages you that it's not about right or wrong, guys. It's just about being as accurate as possible. In the same way, when you worked, you might have done a maths degree. They wanted to know working. Remember, you got marks for working. Like, show your working. I'm not sure if you guys did that, but if you showed your working, even though the answer was wrong, you'll still get marks for that. And employers do exactly the same. Okay, guys, that's essentially it. So I hope you got something out of it. Again, just to recap, remember, it's all about the employer. Give your employer certainty and confidence. It's not about absolutes, it's accuracy. And the last three would be just go back. Oops. Avoiding negative words and not asking questions at the end, and being able to give details and specificity as well. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Any questions? Feel free to refer them back to myself or one of the guys in DNC, and I'll see you later.